Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, hi, welcome. My name is Shuba and I like to read books. I'm very excited for this video. Another booktuber, her name is Monsi, she recently posted this video where she talked about every single series that she's ever started and if she's planning on continuing the series or not. Link will be down below. Check out her video and subscribe to her channel. She's great. I wanted to film my very own video similar and talk about all of the series that I have started and let you know if I'm planning on continuing with the series or not. And then at the end, share any series that I own physically and I haven't started yet. I'm really excited to film this video because there's quite a few series that I've already started that I haven't necessarily picked up or finished yet. When I look back to my reading habits from a few years ago, if I would have started a series, I would have continued and finished that series right away. However, my reading habits have changed quite a bit, and last year I noticed that I'd started a few series but never really went back to that series. I went on reading other standalone books and other series that I've been wanting to read. I think that this video is going to be a good indicator moving forward of what I have left to read and what I want to prioritize moving into this year. With that, if there are any book series on my list that you've read, let me know if you've enjoyed that series, if I should continue with this series. I would love to know your thoughts and input because that would help me as well. Enjoy watching. We're gonna start with romance. The first series that I want to talk about is the Rebel Blue Ranch series. We have Done and Dusted, Swift and Saddled, and Lost and Lassoed. I've read all three of these books and I absolutely love these books. They're the perfect cowboy romance, but make it mild. I don't think it's outwardly cowboy romance. I just think it's a really fun, wholesome romance series, and each book keeps getting better and better. I've read all three of these books and the newest one is coming out this year. I believe it's called Wild and Wrangled, and you better believe that I will be continuing with this series. The next series is the Magnolia Parks Universe series. I've read 2 out of 5 of the books. I've read Magnolia Parks, Daisy Hates, and I still need to continue with the last 3 books. I am planning on reading and continuing on with the series. I know that this series is kind of toxic and it's a more intense version of Gossip Girl, but I just love the drama, and these are just kind of like my guilty pleasure reads. They're just super fun. I'm not thinking too much about it. They're just a good time, so I'm going to continue with them. The Bright Falls series by Ashley Herring Blake. I read the first book, Delilah Green Doesn't Care, as an audiobook, and I loved it so much. It's such a good queer romance. And then there are 2 other books within this series. It's kind of an interconnected standalone. You don't have to read one before the other, but I just love a good interconnected standalone series because I feel like I can connect to the characters more since I already know them from a previous book. They've been introduced already. And we have Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail and Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, and I will definitely be reading these books in the future. I would love to listen to the audiobooks again because the narration was great. A series that I started earlier last year was the Crowns of Nyaxia series. The first one is The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I really love this vampire romantasy, and I'm not sure why I haven't continued on with this story. We have quite a lot of books in this series though. We have Six Scorched Roses, which is a novella, and I have read that book and it was okay, not my favorite. I definitely like this first one more. There's also The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, The Songbird and the Heart of Stone, The Fallen and the Kiss of Dusk. I've heard that the second book, which is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, isn't as good as this first book. If you've read it, let me know what you think and if I should continue on. This is a pretty big series, so I feel like it's a commitment, but I had such a good time with this storyline and the politics and the games that were played within this story. The games, more like everyone's killing each other. And I had a lot of fun, so if you recommend I continue on with the story, let me know and I will. I would put this under maybe. More likely, yes to continuing. The next series I don't own, but it is on Kindle Unlimited. It is the Kindred's Curse saga. The first one is The Spark of the Everflame. I read this book in December and I had a really good time. It was such a fun romantasy. I think there's potential for it to be better than ACOTAR. And I say that loosely since I've only read the first book and I really liked it. I do think that there's a lot of character development and growth that we'll want to see with our main character, but there is potential. There are 4 books in this series. The second one is Glow of the Everflame, Heat of the Everflame, and Burn of the Everflame. I do want to continue on with this story and I plan on it. Also, FYI, I have my laptop down here so I can read the names of the books because I can't remember everything. The next series is the Legendborn cycle. We have Legendborn, which is the first book, and then Bloodmarked, which is the second book. Absolutely heck yes, I'm going to be continuing on with the story. Oathbound, which is book 3, is coming out next month, so in March, and I'm already working on my rereads of both of these books so I can be prepared for Oathbound. If you haven't read the series yet, please do. It's so good. One of the best fantasies that I've ever read. This next book is the first book in a trilogy that I read this time last year. It is Faybound by Sarah L. Arifi. This is the first book in the Faybound trilogy. It's called Faybound. I really enjoyed reading this book when it had come out. It was an anticipated read for me. It takes place in the Fey world, but we have 2 sisters that are elves, so it adds a little twist into our Fey romantasy world that we already know of. The second book, Cursebound, comes out this month and I'm very excited to read it, so I will be continuing. I read the first book in the Hades and Persephone saga. There are 4 books total in this series. This is the first one, A Touch of Darkness. The others follow as A Touch of Ruin, A Touch of Malice, and A Touch of Chaos. This was fun. It wasn't my favorite story that I've ever read. I did have a good time. I believe at the time when I read it, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It's good, but also there were pieces about it that I just didn't care much for. It's an urban fantasy, and urban fantasies are hit or miss for me. Unfortunately, I will not be continuing on with this series because I love how this first book ended kind of open for me to decide if I wanted to continue on with the story. The ending left me feeling really good with the conclusion. So I feel like I don't need to move forward with it. Let me know otherwise though. The Shady Hollow series, I was gifted the 5th book by the publisher last August, and it's just a cozy fantasy mystery and I really enjoyed it. I love that the story centers around animals as our main characters and it was just a cozy good time. I haven't read books 1 through 4 and I know that there's a 6th one that's coming out sometime soon. I honestly wouldn't be opposed to reading this series. I think it's the perfect comfort read. It might be fun to listen to as well. It's not something that I am dying to read and putting at the top of my list, but if I get to it this year, that would be great. So I would say that this is a series under maybe. Maybe I would continue. The Crucible series. The first book of the series is The Games Gods Play, and this was probably one of the worst books that I've ever read, and definitely one of the worst books I read last year. Safe to say that I will not be continuing on with the next book. The next book is called The Things Gods Break. I thought that this book was super repetitive. It was very long. I didn't like how Hades was perceived in this story. I also thought that our main character was very, very annoying, and it felt like it was taking a lot of pieces from other fantasy stories and putting it and dumping it into one book just so it could fill all of the different tropes that a fantasy has. And I just didn't like it. I should have DNF'd it, but I didn't. I did read it, and I will not be continuing with this series. A book that I read last year that I had 0 expectations for, and it blew me out of the water, is that the saying, is The Serpent and the Wolf by Rebecca Robinson. This is a brand new romantasy series, and it's so good. I absolutely ate this up. It went by so fast. I want to caveat and say that it's not necessarily a full-on romantasy. It's more of a political romantasy. Politics come first in this story, and that's what I really liked about it. I thought it was very unique from other romantasies that I've read. Also, our main male character is swoon-worthy. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to reread this book. And there is news that a sequel will be coming out. We're not sure when, unfortunately, but I will definitely be continuing on with the story. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend. A few months ago, I read What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. This is the first book in the Secrets of the Niles series. The second book just came out. It's called Where the Library Hides. Unfortunately, I didn't enjoy reading this book. I think it was a wrong book at the wrong time situation. I was forcing myself to read it, and that's never a good thing. I am hit or miss on if I want to continue on with the series or not. The ending was compelling enough, but I did find that the bulk of the story was really slow paced and nothing was really happening. At least that's my opinion of the story. So let me know if you think I should continue with the sequel and if you read it and you liked it or not. The last series of books that I have started but I haven't finished yet is the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey. There are 9 books in this series. I own all 9 books. I just haven't gotten around to finishing the series yet, and it really is one of my goals this year to finish finally the Expanse series. I've read books 1 through 3 twice already because I keep forgetting what happens, and if I take too long of a break, I'm gonna have to reread just so I can catch up again. And I plan on continuing with the story. Books 4 through 9 I do want to finish, and they are going to be a priority for 2025. Those are all the series that I have started but I haven't finished yet, and if I'm planning on finishing them or not. Now, let's go over all of the books that I own physically, but I haven't started them at all yet. And honestly, these should be priority for 2025. So let's talk about series that I own, but I haven't started yet. The first one being Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This is the first book in the Rose Hill series. I know nothing about this story. I have never read the back of the book. I know that people either like it or they don't like it. They like a lot of Elsie Silver's previous works, but this is newer. I am excited to read this because I haven't read anything that's small town romance outside of Rebel Blue Ranch series and Abby Jimenez's Part of Your World series. So I'm looking forward to this. I did get this as a blind date with the book not too long ago, so I didn't actually pick this out. It was picked for me, essentially. The next 2 books are books 1 and 2 of the Lioness trilogy. We have Salt Kiss and we have Honeycut by Sierra Simone. This is a Tristan and Isolde retelling. The reasons why I bought these books is because Sierra Simone is a local Kansas City author, and I want to support more local authors. And also, the series just sounded really interesting to me. However, I have not read them yet, and I plan to. This next series is a very anticipated series for me, and I don't know why I keep putting it off. I think it's because it's just supposed to be a very emotional series. It's the Skyland series. I have book 1, Before I Let Go, and book 2, This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. These covers are absolutely beautiful, and I have just heard that it's an emotional series, and the 3rd book is coming out this spring, so I need to get to these and read these before the 3rd one comes out so I can catch up. My fantasy stack is my largest stack of series that I own, and I haven't started yet. Eek! I'm going to quickly run through them since there's quite a few. We have Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is the first book in the name of a series that I don't know. I believe that it's a trilogy. I got this a while back. I don't know anything about it, but I've heard really good things, obviously, which is why I picked it up and I need to read it. The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is the first book in the Broken Earth trilogy. I remember picking this up a very long time ago because this has to do with the end of the world and elemental magic, something about the earth falling apart and killing us off, global warming. Now I'm just saying buzzwords, unsure, but I am excited to read this, obviously. Taming Demons for Beginners by Annette Marie. My friend Logan and I went to Under the Cover in Kansas City, and they had a blind date with a book during Christmas time. And Logan and I both got this same book, so we will be buddy reading it at some point. But this is a fantasy, romantasy story, and I don't know how many books there are in this series. And the series is called The Guild Codex Demonized, Book 1. Long Live Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan. This is the first book in the Time of Iron. This just seems really interesting because it's about a girl who gets trapped in her favorite fantasy story, but she's the villain in this story. So our main female character is a villain and portrayed that way in the story, and that just sounded really fun. So randomly picked it up from a shelf at Barnes & Noble. This next series, everyone's talking about it. It is the Ember in the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. I'm ready to read this series. I don't know why I have a hard time picking up fantasies, and I shouldn't. There's something intimidating about them, but I'm excited to start this YA fantasy series. I've heard nothing but good things, and I've heard that once you read the first book, you're gonna wanna just continue and finish the whole series, which is not a problem for me. That would be great. I would love that. The next 3 books are the Moisai trilogy by E.J. Mello. We have Song of the Forever Rains, Dance of the Burning Sea, and Symphony of the Deadly Throne. I randomly picked these books up from Under the Cover back in February, and I haven't touched them since. It's about time I either read them or get rid of them. I picked these up mostly for the covers, and the reason why I got all 3 in one is because I accidentally got the first book, and then I got the third book, and I left Under the Cover, and I realized that I got the wrong book, so then I just went back and got the third book. So that's why I own the series. I did not make that mistake with this last series that I want to talk about, and it is the Bloodsporn Saga by John Gwynne. The first one is The Shadow of the Gods. The second one is The Hunger of the Gods. And I know the third one came out, so the series is officially complete, and I don't own that yet because I'm only allowed to get it after I finish these 2 books. There's been a lot of hoarding going on, and I need to nip that in the bud. No more. My goal for 2025 is to get through my physical TBR, so I'm focusing on all of these series and all of the books that I actually own. That's all I have to share for today. Let me know if there's any of the books that I've talked about that you've read and you recommend, or maybe you're like, don't waste your time. I would love your opinions because that'll help me make my decision. This was so much fun to film, and I'm so glad that I watched Monsi film this video and share all of the books that she has read in series and if she's going to continue or not. I hope this was fun for you to watch. Until next time, I will see you in another video. Bye.